This next episode, I had the chance to meet and to go out with John Odenkirk and his team. John is a biologist for the VDGIF, and he was tasked with kind of figuring out, collecting data, and seeing what kind of impact these snakehead have. I'm the firm believer that they really don't have an impact. When I was out with him on his shocking trip, which you'll see here in a second, it was amazing the amount of bass we caught and also the amount of life. But what I'm going with is that, you know, these guys, they're an exciting game fish, and it's not very often. In fact, I don't know of really many other examples where an exciting brand new game fish that has very low impact ecologically has come into play. These are the guys that I'm talking about. This one's a decent sized male, good sized male, but these are the big bad supposedly destroyers of the Potomac, and it's just the opposite is what we're finding. It's the northern snakehead. More in a few. So John, you said that you really haven't seen a decline in the largemouth population?
38. No, I mean last year was a blip in terms of numbers of bass. We had reduced numbers, which I think was attributed mostly to a couple poor year classes. We had a bad year in 2011 for spawning, a bad year in 2012. And the result of that was there's a little hole in the fishery because those fish aren't, you know, this size and a little bigger now. And then the other side of that is too, last year we did have a pretty major fish kill in most of these creeks. And I think that affected our catch rate some. So the combination of a couple of years of poor recruitment, but looking at long-term averages, this year is going to be normal. I mean, the fishery's in good shape. There's no problems with the bass population in the Virginia, at least in the Virginia portion of the Potomac River. I don't know what's going on in Maryland, but Virginia's okay. 31, and it was like 314, Mike. And it was one of the recaps from the bass study last year.
That's another tagged one.
Yep.
And so that fish was tagged here.
That fish was tagged in this creek sometime between March and September last year. Yeah, last year we were doing this year we're doing a population estimate on snakeheads like we've been doing for the past, this will be our 4th year. 22.
So what is the purpose of what you're doing now?
Well, right now with the bass, we're doing what we call just size, structure, and abundance. Relative abundance, 25, which is how many bass we catch in a unit of time we're in the creek. And then we can compare, you know, this year versus last year versus this creek and that creek, and as we wish. It's sort of a metric of abundance. 42, and then of course size structure, we're measuring them for.
And then that'll give you like an average of per bass per acre?
34, well not per acre, it's just, again, it's a relative abundance metric, number of fish per hour. Now for the snakeheads, if we're actually doing a marker capture population estimate, which we did do for bass last year when we were tagging them, that'll give you number of fish per acre, which is a different kind of information, but it's very useful as well. 41, there's another recap from last year. can see these tags get covered after just a month
yeah.
or two in the stream. They get covered with algae, and a lot of fishermen won't even recognize that way it's laying down there. It's the same color as the fish's back. And unless you paid real particular attention to it, you can catch and release this fish and never know. Or maybe just assume it was like a parasite or a piece of his fin broke off. Or, it's going to be 392 and 39er.
So if a fisherman catches these that are tagged, I mean,
Well, yeah, these actually had a different legend on them than the snakehead tags. Have a Fish and Wildlife Service number out of Annapolis, Maryland. It has some instructions on there. These are our office phone number in Fredericksburg because the feds weren't involved in this study. This was just our little thing. This is another one that Mike's recaps. It's going to be 442, so 44 centimeter group.
And you guys said you tagged a few hundred in your
Yeah,
last
several hundred.
I think it's
3 to 400.
350.
Yeah, it's close to 400 fish we tagged. It's a beautiful fish. It's got that pigment, that external pigment, which absolutely means nothing in terms of the health of the fish. It's a very healthy fish, as you can see. In fact, I don't think it's connected or related, but some of the fish that have this pigment seem to be the healthiest condition the fish we see. I mean, that fish is just amazingly healthy.
And it's not a virus or fungus?
No, it's just a genetic, it's an external or phenotypic expression of a recessive genetic trait. Birthmarks. Beauty marks.
That's a good way of thinking of them, as just birthmarks.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Do you guys have any plans to go back out and tag bass?
38. No, I mean, we were just curious, in the context of comparing the numbers of adult snakeheads versus the numbers of adult bass. And we didn't really have an idea of how many adult bass there were. So we wanted to do that 14, just to give us some idea of the relationship between these two predators that are, occupying the same habitat a lot of the time. 28. I think it was, what ended up being, Mike, like 3 to 1. There's roughly about 3 bass, 3.5, 3 to 4 to 1 in this creek. And the other thing was, last year was an anomaly too, as I mentioned, because of the fish kill and the poor recruitment of bass. So if anything, our numbers last year were heavily skewed and to favor greater snakehead abundance, 21.
What did you attribute the fish kill to?
DEQ suggested toxic algae. We never came up with any. It didn't appear to be related to oxygen, which is typically the issue, 40. We saw it was a huge kill, and it was non-species selective, non-size selective. In fact, we even saw dead snakeheads very early in the year, which we've never seen before. Yeah. We didn't see a lot of dead snakeheads, but we did see a couple, and like I said, we've never seen that before. 28. Yeah, we did surmise that maybe the snakehead, because it was the first trip out, we saw the dead snakes, and maybe we thought that the cold was just too much for the snakes. Huh. But that could have been completely independent. Whatever killed most of the other fish.
So with the cold, I mean, do you have any idea what the snakehead do in the wintertime?
24. Well, based on some telemetry studies we've done and some of the literature, I mean, in Korea they call them mudfish, and some of the Chinese literature we've seen, a little bit that's been translated, they burrow into the mud. It gets to a certain time, a certain temperature. Generally seems like it's in December, below 50 degrees for sustained periods of time in the water. The water temperature gets into the 40s. They just burrow into the mud and essentially shut down. Now, we did see them last year. We're in a Quantico Creek in mid-December, but it was really warm last December. And the snakeheads were out and about in the milfoil. But generally, in the winter, they go in 24, and they literally, it's a true hibernation from what I've been able to determine. They've got that huge swim bladder. I mean, since they're air breathers, you think, well, how can a fish not breathe for three months? But I think it's because they have that massive air bladder, and the metabolism is so low, they're not really using, the metabolic rates like a bear hibernating. They just shut down almost. Just maintenance and a little bit of heartbeat. Now, this little guy is undoubtedly less than a year old because it's last year's fish, so I haven't seen his first birthday yet. So we'll see fish from this size down to 8 or 10 inches. It's 452.
What do you think the age on that is?
It's a 1 year old.
That is a 1 year old.
Yeah.
It's probably spawned late May, early June last year.
Tag is 6146. 6146. That last number is a 6, isn't it, Brent? All right. Pretty color. I mean, great. Especially when they're young, they seem to have nicer patterns, more distinct. And we've got a couple what I would consider sort of average size. And you can't even can't even make a guess about the age of this fish because it's so highly variable. You know, these fish could be 2 years old, they could be 3, they could be 4, they could be 5. It's almost like throwing a dart at a dartboard. Would tell you, better than guessing.
Is there any way to tell them between male and female?
Not with certainty, but with a pretty good rate of confidence based on the head shape and size, based on the abdominal swollenness of the vent, the color,
Okay.
and the distinctive markings. Typically, the males will lose their pattern. There'll be a bigger head. They'll be skinnier body with no abdominal. So I'm guessing this fish is a female based on the way she looks.
So a male will have a bigger head.
Male will have a bigger head, sort of like catfish.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, typically in the fish world, males are more brightly colored, but for whatever reason, snakehead females tend to be much prettier. The patterns are more distinct. A lot of times you'll even notice a purple iridescence. Just pretty fish. This one's 645. And these tags are from the Fish and Wildlife Service. So the tag is a 6145 is the number. It says reward. It's got a phone number on it, and it says remove tag, report location, and kill fish. Hopefully today we'll see some of the fish we've already tagged this year. Because now this one I'd say is a male. It's much darker, longer, kind of skinnier. Although there's a little bit abdomen there, I still say almost definitely this fish is a male. But the other one was a female. Back in the old days when we just tag and release snakeheads, which we did for 3 years before we started doing the population monitoring. I mean, in terms of population estimates, we use blue tags. So the feds use blue tags, and so we don't rarely see a blue tag anymore because we haven't tagged a fish with a blue tag in 4 years. So most of those fish are dead, or the tag's falling out.
Another 27 is 54
Yeah,
in 3,200 seconds.
that's good. It's a good catch rate, especially again considering the water's as dirty as it is.
So will you take the snakehead that you're recapturing that are tagged? Are you going to take those, or are you going to retag them?
If it's this year's tag, we'll note it and release it. If it's last year's tag, we'll pretend it's a brand new fish. We'll probably leave this tag in. 6626 is the current tag. I'll put another one in it just in case it was last year's. So the new tag is 6143.
6143.
Which should be a sequence for what you had already.
Yeah.
And then 6626 was the recap. I don't know, based on the amount of algae, I'd say it might have been one of last year's. Good, did I get length?
No.
Looks like 601.
Do you see any coloration change between the creeks?
649. No, I mean, there'll be a coloration change sometimes if you take them out of real dirty water and they sit in a boat for a minute or two. They might change color a little bit, but in between creeks, I wouldn't say so.
What do they typically grow in a year?
428. Well, it's really hard to say typically because the range is so wide. I will email you the study that we did on that. Because off the top of my head, I don't want to quote anything. Does that get you length?
Yeah.
But it's very possible a 16-inch fish could be 1 year old.
That's a
Yeah.
1 year.
Yeah. It's
No, almost no question
almost
about that.
probably, yeah, it's definitely.
That's the size maybe you can key with a little bit of confidence. Once they get to this size, you got no confidence to guess reliably because there's so much overlap.
So since we're in Virginia, what is the law state for Virginia with snakehead?
0. We can't sell them because there's no enabling legislation to legally allow anybody to sell a snakehead. and the reason we don't change that is because we don't necessarily want an economic incentive for people to move them around the state. Maryland and D.C. are both very small jurisdictions, and they have snakeheads pretty much everywhere they can be, so I don't think they really care about people moving them. So they've allowed commercial sale, which probably has helped reduce the numbers because there's a tremendous market for them. But in Virginia, so you can't sell them, but we encourage people to catch them, kill them, and eat them if they want. You don't have to kill them. You can release them, so we don't require anybody to kill anything. I don't think we can do that. But we say that if you're going to possess them, they can't be alive. So if you're going to take it into possession, then you got to kill it. That's how we get you on the kill thing.
Gotcha.
But you can catch them with net, bow and arrow, hook and line, and can't legally spear them or gig them, although it happens all the time. But I don't think our guys are going to write you up for it.
What's the deal? I mean, what's the idea behind that?
635. Just simply, again, it's like the sales thing. There's no enabling in Virginia, unless there's a law that says you can do something as it relates to fish and wildlife. You can't do it.
Ah.
So unless there's a law that says you can take snakehead with a speeder or a gig, then you can't do it. And there is no law like that. So we had to pass a law to add snakeheads to the list of species that you could legally target with bow and arrow. Okay. That happened about 6-7 years ago. Since it's classified as a non-game fish, in other words, not a game fish, it can be taken with a net.
I got you.
Again.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to get 2 tagged a couple of years ago. Actually, in this creek we're in right now. Is that
Big, ugly male.
Is that the big one?
Yeah, that's definitely a big ugly.
So this is the one of the biggest ones we've got.
This is one of the bigger ones we've seen this season.
And these numbers that you're calling out, these are metric, correct?
Correct. 887.
What is that in inches?
90 is 36, so I mean that's a 35-inch fish.
That's a really nice
We got
one.
a scale in there. We can weigh it if you want. You can weight on it. I'm guessing maybe 13.
Yeah, probably 13.
I guess 13.
You want to get a weight?
If you want. Is there a 5 gallon? Yeah, one that has it. We used to weigh all of them, but now when we kill them, we weigh them, so we've got a really good length-weight regression relationship. So we can very accurately guess or estimate the length of.
So 13.2.
Wow.
13.9, almost 14.
Wow, that's a big fish.
All right, guys, you may liberate.